we are going to introduce
Helen.
And Bobby knows Helen way more than I do. So she's going to tell you a little background on her. So let's give her a hand.
I have to get my right accent on. Helen and I actually met through networking. We did? Through networking, and we think it was about 5 years ago. And it turns out we were both making changes at the same time, or preparing to make changes. Helen was with Marriott for 10 years and was doing dual and had started her travel business while she was still under the Marriott hood, as I started my business 2 years before I left. So, there's always a little bit of planning involved if you're going to make a transition and a change. So we met, and actually, this is full circle today because Helen invited me to be, she has a radio show, and she invited me to be a speaker on an interviewee on her radio show, and I talked about what not to pack. So when Crystal was looking for somebody today, in travel business, they go, you have to get Helen. So Helen Brahms, and she's had her travel business now for 6 years, and I'll tell you, I follow her.
Well, kia ora. How is everybody this morning?
Good.
We're all having a super fantastic sparkling day?
Yes.
But before I get started, first of all, I want to thank Bobby for the introduction. And yes, we have known each other a while. And having her on the radio show when she talked about what not to pack, I have used that information every time I pack. And being someone involved in the travel industry, we do travel a lot. The only problem was I fell down last week when I had to go to 2 different climates. I went from Rarotonga for 3 nights to New Zealand for 3 nights, from 80-degree weather that was humid to 40s. Yes, and then came back home again. So it's hard to believe. This is where I was on Monday. So yeah, I was in Hobbiton on Monday, so it's been quite a week. And I also like sorry? This is in Hobbiton in New Zealand, where the movie The Hobbit was filmed. Yes, and if you can see right here, this is Casey Kiwi. He's my mascot. And he's not a platypus. I've been asked if he's a platypus, and last week I got asked if he was a koala, and I just looked at the person like, koala. Trust me. If it might help some see better, that would work. The other thing, people I'd like to thank too is PLJ for inviting me to come and talk with such an amazing group of women. I got to meet some of you earlier, and it just amazes me the variety of people that are in this room with what you do, and the different types of lifestyles that you live in that too. So hopefully today we can give you some good tips on traveling. So how many times when it comes to how many people are like this when it comes to planning vacations? John, be honest. Yeah, you're sort of like vacations. Oh, I really don't want to do that. Don't worry. We're here today to help make a calm, smooth transition. So what we're going to talk about today is they asked me if I would talk about how to find travel deals and help you save money when you travel. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at budget versus value, finding that good balance. And I've got a great story for you that I think you'll like. Off the beaten path, how to get away from those high touristy spots and get off the beaten path and save some money that way as well. When and where to travel. Now, times you think about, I want to go to Hawaii, for example. When's the best time to go? They don't really have a low season. Seriously, it's almost high season all the time. So we're going to give you some alternatives for that one. How to avoid racking up travel bills. How many times do you go traveling and you come home and your trip's now cost you 5 times more than when you started? Yep. All been there, all done that. You know, like a cruise ship or something, you get that room bill at the end, you're like, ugh. Because they give you that little key card that you pay for everything on the ship and you don't realise what you're racking up until you get that bill at the end. We'll show you how to. And then we're going to give you some resources for traveling as women. And we've got some great resources for you, some awesome ones out there. So first of all, I had a client who came to me. It was a high-end couple and over 55, and the reason I put the age up there is very important. Over 55 years on a cruise ship is considered a senior, so you actually get senior discount rates if they are available. Also too, if you are over the age of 50 and got your AARP card, you'll get discounts in hotels, on car rentals, and other places when you travel, at some theme parks as well. In fact, 55, the year I got married, which was 1998, my parents were over here in the States for for our wedding, and we went to Disneyland. And my mum had turned 55 like a couple of weeks beforehand, and she's standing there and she said, "What?" She goes, "Oh, I'm a senior." She was so excited. Then she looks at my dad, and my dad's like, because my dad's birthday was in a week, so he wasn't quite 55 yet. There's 3 weeks between them. And Mum goes, "What's the matter?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm not a senior." She goes, "That's all right, dear. I'll buy your tickets for you." So she walks in and she goes, "2 seniors, please." We got into Disneyland at the senior rate. So, important to know. Now, for hotels, they will either be double ARP cards, or if you're with Marriott, they're actually either 62 or 65. I can't remember which. They're actually going by age on that one. So make sure you
What do
have.
you mean by high-end? High-end?
This is luxury couple that typically have very high budgets when they travel, and you'll see that in a minute.
But even the low income places will give you senior discounts.
Absolutely, absolutely.
They're all 55 also.
Yep.
I don't know.
Aren't some places
Some places are 65, some places, I've come across one that was 70 and I was like, oh. Yeah. So this couple wanted a 10-day luxury Hawaiian experience. They wanted to go first class on their flights. They wanted 5-star hotels, they wanted suites, and they wanted a spa. So now you get the idea of what I mean by high-end couple, right? They wanted to visit Oahu, Maui, and Hawaii, and they had a budget of 25 grand. So I had this couple, I asked them a few questions, found out what they liked, they didn't like, and then I thought, okay, with their 10 days to get the 3 islands in, they're going to be spending so much time packing bags and flying to the next island and all that I then came up with this option for them, land versus cruise. So if we look at the land, when I gave them the package, the land included up here, the air, the transfers, the hotels with breakfast, and all applicable taxes and fees. Now when you see the fees thing here, these are the fees that are put on by the hotels and the airports, not by me as a travel professional. The only time I charge my clients a fee is if I'm doing a customized trip, and that is a pre-planning fee, a research fee, whatever you want to call it. But if you book with me, that fee is then applied to your final payment. So you're not actually paying me, because the vendors I use pay the travel agents and the travel professionals commission. It did not include meals, entertainment, spa, tours, and travel insurance. The cruise over here, look what's included. Air transfers, 3-night pre-cruise hotel breakfast. They've got the suite with a butler. Yeah, trust me. You ever had a suite with a butler before? It's amazing what you find for them to do. They will do just about anything for you. Food, entertainment, unlimited specialty dining, free prepaid gratuitous $200 on-board credit. Specialty dining, anybody, how many of you been on a cruise before? Okay, so you know the specialty dining is the one that has the extra fee on it, that's not the regular dining room. So there happened to be a promotion with the cruise line at the time they were looking that included the unlimited specialty dining, the free prepaid gratuities, and the $200 on-board credit. So had that not been in there, you still can see they got a little more on the land. It also included their travel insurance and again, all applicable fees and taxes. It did not include their beverages, spas, or tours. So out of those two, with their $25,000 budget, how many think the land came out more than the cruise, or the cruise came out more than the land? So how many think the land came out more than the cruise? How many think the cruise came out more than the land? Only a couple of you, interesting. Here with those. Hang on, wrong button, try that one. So that was our cost. So the land, there's $1,000 difference between them, just under $1,000. But here's the really cool part. Because of the value offered on the cruise compared to the value that was offered on the land, they went with the cruise. What makes this even better, and this is where your travel professionals come in, because if you book this yourself, you've got to keep an eye on all the time, is that we have a program that will actually watch the fares for when we book a client. And it sent me a little email saying, hey, your client's suite has dropped by $800 per person. So they now save $1,600, so that made the cruise end cost being less than the land. But even though we were over budget, had that not come through, they still chose the cruise, even though it was slightly over their budget, because it had a better value. So when you're weighing up your different travel options, which one's going to provide you more bang for your buck is what you've got to look at. And sometimes they weren't even thinking of a cruise at the time, so when I showed them these options, they were like, wow, you didn't even thought of the cruise, so we're going with the cruise.
Oh, they wanted to do the land?
They were wanting to do land. But see, with the cruise, they got to visit 4 Hawaiian islands, not just the 3 they were one after.
And how much time do they spend on the cruise?
They 7-night cruise.
But then how much on the island? How much time on the island?
The cruise starts it's done with Pride of America. It's the only cruise ship that does a 7-night round the Hawaiian Islands cruise. It starts in Honolulu. They then went to Maui for an overnight stay, so they got 2 days in Maui. Then they do 2 different ports on Hawaii. There was Kona's one and Hito's the other, so 2 different ends of the island, and they get to stop and see the volcanoes as well, and then there is a 4th island that they go to. So this way they got to see more of Hawaii than they had planned, but they also got to see what they wanted to see as well. Pretty good deal, huh?
Yes.
And this doesn't work just because it's the $25,000 budget. I used it because it's a real client story. And I wanted to show you how you can see the difference between the two.
Well, then you have to package it with flying it on the plane.
But then you listen to Bobby's great advice, which I've been following for the last 5 years, and you don't have to worry about the packing anymore, because she makes it so easy for us. And I'll tell you, that method that she used with the folder thing, I'm getting one of those folder things, because I was doing that without the folder thing. So I'm getting one of those folder things. Okay, so this is the difference between a traveler and a tourist. The traveler sees what he sees, the tourist sees what he has come to see. So if you think about it, whenever you go somewhere, you always know the tourists, right? You can pick them out a mile. You've got the cameras around the neck, you've got the backpacks on, you've got the big sunny hats on. If you're in Paris then, they'll be doing like this with the Eiffel Tower, or this with the Eiffel Tower, doing this. If they're in Pisa, they're doing this with the tower, they're trying to hold that up. They're the ones doing all the crazy moves. And I will be honest, there are times that I am a tourist and I want to try that too. But a traveler is somebody who wants to experience the culture. A tourist is somebody who will turn around, that when they go to somewhere like Spain, and believe it or not, this is actually a real complaint, the people spoke Spanish. They were upset. Their whole trip was ruined, so they went to Spain, people spoke Spanish and nobody spoke any English. I don't know where these people come from, I really don't. But a traveller, when you're travelling, there are 5 key phrases that you should learn in the language of the country you're going to. It is hello, thank you, please, either excuse me or I'm sorry, and where's the bathroom? Yeah. And if you ask somebody in that country how to pronounce those, how you say it in their language, they're going to be more receptive to you, they're going to be more friendly towards you, and they'll be willing to do just about anything for you. Because you are showing a genuine interest in them and their culture. You're not a tourist going up expecting them to speak English when they're in a country that English is a second or third language. Okay, so we're going to get off the beaten path now. So research before you go. If you're going somewhere you've never been before, do some research. Talk with your travel professional, they can give you some great hints and tips there as well. There's one year I went to work in Melbourne for 3 weeks, in Australia there. And I knew that city better than the guy who was born and raised there by the time. He picked me up from the airport, we went to the office, we did the work. He then, I've been in the country all of 4 hours. He goes to take me to my hotel, he goes to a right turn down the street. I said, you can't turn down there. He goes, why is that? I said, it's a one-way street coming the other direction. And he looks at me and I said, you got to go to the next street, because I was on a little brook. You got to go to the next street, which is Brook Street, take it down to the end, and come around that way. My hotel's half a block from the end, from the corner. And he's looking at me. I had never been in Melbourne before. I had been in the country 4 hours. And I'm telling somebody who was born and raised in the city how to get around the city, which was kind of interesting.
Is that when you realized you needed to get your own business going?
That was about 20 years ago. Who do you know from that country? Who do you know? Who do you know that has been there? Whose brains can you go and pick? You know, I'm from New Zealand, so I love talking about New Zealand. I can talk about the 10, 12, 13, 14 hours. However long you want to talk about New Zealand, I can cover the whole country top to bottom. And everywhere in between. As well as how many places I've lived as well. Ask. Great example of this. We were in Hawaii, and we were going to go around to the National Volcano Park. So what we did is we decided we needed breakfast. So my husband goes to the doorman and said, we want to go somewhere for breakfast. We don't want to go where the tourists go. We want the local place. So he said, okay, where are you going? We told him, he says, you need to go 20 minutes up the road. You'll come across this strip of shops. There's about 3 or 4 of them there. Look for the blue one, that's the blue Hawaiian, that's the Hawaiian Cafe. He says, go in there and you need to order a loco moco. I'm like, what's a loco moco? He says, we'll find out. He says, but keep looking for it, because if you blink, you'll miss it, and then you won't have breakfast. So we actually did drive past it. So I saw this flashing and I said, was that where we were supposed to go? So we turned around and went back. We went in, and this was literally a hole in the wall place. You walk in, here, there was a U-shaped counter with the cooks behind it. Every store was taken, and a couple of booths on the side taken. We're like looking around going, oh well, Guess we don't have to wait. And the guy says, oh, you're here for breakfast? Was he? Just go through the door over there. And we're like, the door over there? And there was a door over there. So we go in there, we sit down, we order the Loco Moco, and I kid you, the amount of, there was 5 of us. We ordered 2 Loco Mocos, 2 French toasts, and 1 pancakes. The amount of food came out would have fed 12 people. Easily, and there probably still would have been some left over. I had 3 teenage boys at the time, so they made a pretty good deal. But the Loco Moco came out on one of those oval plates, had this huge pile of rice, 2 half-pound patties, fried eggs, and the whole thing was smothered in gravy. And my husband and I looked at each of our plates and were like, jeepers, if we'd known how big it was, we would have put one between the 2 of us. The French toast was 6 slabs of bread that were each like an inch thick, and the pancakes was a stack of 5 that were dinner plate size. $5 a plate for the so it cost us $25 for breakfast. That would have fed at least 12 people. It was amazing.
What island?
That was on Hawaii.
The Big Island?
The Big Island, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so then when we were in Philadelphia, my husband said, I've always wanted to try a Philly cheesesteak. Again, go to the doorman. So we need a the best Philly cheesesteak in town. He sent us again to this little hole-in-the-wall place. You walked in, there's a counter here where you order, there's a counter here where you stand and eat, and then you get out. And there wasn't much room for anything else. And the place was packed. But the Philly cheesesteak was amazing. So ask the locals, where do you go? When we go to Orlando, we've got a vacation club down there. We know where the local supermarket is, but it's not filled with all the touristy junk that you're likely to pick up. And you're paying the regular prices, you're not paying the marked up prices that you go to where all the tourist stuff is. So remember to ask. And again, like I said, learn the key phrases. When to travel? When kids are in school, prices are lower. General rule of thumb, if kids are out of school, prices are going to be higher. So if you think summer vacations, you got Europe that's open at that time. Alaska's open at that time, yet the prices are high because the kids are out of school. If you're going down to Australia and New Zealand, December, January, your most expensive months because the kids are out of school. They get out of school about mid-December, they go back at the end of January. But also too, it's their summer season, so high tourist as well. So you've got to look at the seasons too. You want a cheap trip to New Zealand? Go in the winter time, which is our summer here. Anybody here like snowboarding and skiing? Go to New Zealand during the summer break up here.
Awesome.
And you would have got cheap rates in as well. Okay, shoulder season. This is the beginning. Shoulder season is the beginning of the high season. So for Alaska, you're looking May through to the middle of June, and then you're looking at the other end, August through the middle of September. That's when the kids, before the kids get out of school and after they go back to school. So the prices are a little cheaper if you go into Alaska at that time. Low season, this is when the kid, like I said, New Zealand, the winter months, great time to go. Although if you're driving around, there's some places you do have to avoid because roads tend to disappear in the snow. And we have even lost the Homer Tunnel a couple of times because of avalanches. But as long as you know where to go and when you're going, you can get cheap rates then too. Repositioning cruises. Where's all my cruises again? Okay, so repositioning cruises when they take the ships from the Caribbean over to Europe, or from Europe back to the Caribbean, where they take the ships from the Caribbean through the Panama Canal and up to Vancouver for the Alaska season, or when they're doing the reverse, or even when they're going from Alaska down to the South Pacific, repositioning down to Australia and New Zealand. Because Australia, New Zealand and South America is open during our winter months here. Again, remember, opposite seasons. So repositioning cruises, you can always get great rates, and they usually have really good 3 and 5 day cruises that will leave out of either San Diego or LA and into Vancouver and then do the return on the way home.
How you know the best prices? How you know?
Let's give you a call. But the repositioning cruises will usually happen if they're going to Alaska, they'll be in May. If they're going to Europe, it'll be April. If they're coming back from Europe, it will be end of September, beginning of October. And if they're coming down from Alaska, it's usually in September. But if you call your travel professional, they'll help you. Alternative destinations. Now this is a really cool one. So like I said, Hawaii is one of those places that never really has a low season. It's great weather all year round. But it's also a very big touristy destination, correct?
Yes.
All right, so you get fed up with all those tourists, right? How many people have been to Tahiti and you found the same fare as what you have in Hawaii? Lots of tourists, right? High prices. Like I said earlier, I spent 3 nights in the Cook Islands last week.
Cook Islands. Awesome.
The Cook Islands are what Hawaii and Tahiti was about 20 years ago, before all the tourists arrived. And I actually did a price comparison last night because How many of you want to stay in an overwater bungalow? Like in Bora Bora or something? Okay, so a 7-night stay in their low season in Bora Bora would still be about $7,500 to $8,000 for an overwater bungalow. In the Cook Islands on Aitutaki, there is actually one resort that has overwater bungalows, and a week's vacation there. Oh, sorry, hang on. What did I just say? Bora Bora was? Bora Bora. Sorry. Yes, that's right. And you can take that same week, so the exact same week, put it in Aitutaki over in the overwater bungalows, and it was only $4,000. Yeah, so big difference in prices. And Rarotonga and Aitutaki, as we're going around, there's a group of 8 travel agents that were taken down there by Air New Zealand Vacations, and Air New Zealand was a sponsor as well. And we were all talking about how beautiful Rarotonga was, how much it reminded us of Tahiti, and the French Polynesia, as well as Maui. Similar weather conditions, lots of the great lush plantness, tropicals, all of that sort of thing. You get the same experience for half the price and less people. And it's great. As you know, Rarotonga has one main road that encircles the whole island, and they have 2 buses. One says clockwise, one says anti-clockwise. And it takes about 20 minutes in a car to circle the island. Creative alternatives. So this is one with a client that I actually came up with. Unfortunately, because of the time, they couldn't do it, but a couple in their 40s, they needed to go for a week in South France. They wanted to redeem their air miles, but it was going to cost them over $700 per person to pay the taxes on the air miles. So we looked at economy was over $2,000 per person, business was over $3,000 per person. So we got a little creative. Now, when you looked at the ones that we did on with my high-end couple, those were packages that we put together. What you're about to see is what we did as an a la carte. So we did round trip tickets from LA to JFK using their miles, and it cost them $10 per person. We did one way from JFK to London. We did round trip from London to the southern France. When they got back to London, we then put them 7 nights on the Queen Mary to Southampton to New York City, and then balcony. How much do you think they paid for that trip? If you're thinking airfares was over $2,000 per person, business was over $3,000, what do you think they're paying per person on this one? Anybody want to guess? So? 25? Any other takers?
35.
Per person?
3,500, yeah.
Okay.
At least.
And since you were the closest,
How many days is
courtesy of
that?
New South Wales, you can have a one for that. $1,800 per person to do all of that.
Oh, but that's because she had a
She had the miles.
She had miles. They were staying with family in France. Yeah. So this was instead of the year, just to get from one place to the other. So this is just using, and the Cunard actually had a sale on at the time that had balconies going for $900 per person. So you think half of that was their cruise. And I got a note from my friend. She turns around and said, "I've never seen my husband speechless before." Unfortunately, this is going to take them 3 weeks, and unfortunately, they couldn't do the 3-week vacation as much as they wanted to. So, but still, they were amazed that we didn't come up with something like that. So this is completely a la carte. It's not a package deal. It's not something we can do through one of the vendors that we use. Okay, so resources for women travelers. These are 3 amazing websites. The first one, Go Girl Guides. They do guides, travel guides specifically for women. So it has in there women-friendly hotels are listed in there. It has places to avoid in certain countries or cities because of it's not safe for women to go. They have great hints and tips on there for women. They also have a blog on there which is really good too. The Women on Their Way is done by Wyndham Worldwide, which is actually a hotel chain. And they realize that women are becoming more and more traveling by themselves or traveling with other women, that they are taking over the travel market more than the males are. Especially when you have the males traveling for business, they realize women are now traveling more than the men, or starting to come up, so they now have a thing on there for that. Yes?
Yeah, last night, Richard Branson was on Nightline, and he has a whole chain of hotels that are geared to women now. virtual
Excellent.
Hotels.
I'll have to go check that out.
Virgin Hotel.
Virgin Hotels. It's in everything.
That's
This one here, Journey Woman, is my favorite. And all of them just add .com on there. So gogirlguides.com, womanontheirway.com, journeywoman.com. This is a phenomenal website. This is my absolute favorite. You can actually sign up for their newsletters. But as a woman traveling, you can actually submit things to their site. So if you're somewhere where you notice you got really great service because you were a woman in a hotel that was geared towards women, then you can go and put comments on there and that. And they have great tips like, one of them I saw in the June list that came out was that when you're in Venice, go and eat in the museum cafes. It's cheaper than eating in the outdoor cafes and you don't pay a surcharge for tables. So it's just little things like that. And they said you get a great view of the canals from there so you can see all the gondolas going past and everything else. So it works very, very well. And they have some great money saving tips on there as well. Great things for looking at safety, always being aware of your surroundings, some great safety products. And I don't have it up here with me, but ask me later. I've got a little cross purse thing that I wear and the strap actually has wire through the strap so that it can't be slashed and stolen. And there's some great handbags out there that have wire mesh in the linings. Here's one. Perfect. May I? Thank you. So this one here, you've got the two, you see the webbing, and on either side of the webbing, there's actually wire running through the handle. And is this one that has the mesh in the bag?
Inside and then on the
Yeah.
bottom it has.
And so on the bottom here, it has mesh sewn into the lining, as well as on the side. And this one doesn't, oh yes it does.
This has
On the front, you've got the little clip here that goes through the zipper thing, so nobody can pickpocket it without you knowing about it. You can get backpacks, handbags, all those sorts of things that make it safer for you to travel when you're carrying your valuables through.
all the pockets to that, and then in this part.
And then you got the RFDI.
Yes.
Excellent.
What brand is that? How would you find it?
This is Travel.
I can't remember the brand. I have it on my
Travel. If you go to
travel line.
And mine, because I just,
Amazon.com.
mine is called PackSafe.
PackSafe. Magellan.com has PackSafe. There was another, the Travel Line
This is
website.
Travelon.
Travelon has it as well. They have great safety things. So what we're going to leave you with is how to avoid racking up travel bills. All-inclusive resorts. Anybody staying in all-inclusive? Okay, so those that haven't, it's your accommodation, your food, and your drinks are all included, including most of the activities on the site. The idea of an all-inclusive is they want to keep you at the resort. They do have some stuff available outside, but they'd rather keep you at the resort. Escorted tours. These are ones where your transportation, your accommodation, or your breakfast, some dinners, occasionally a lunch is thrown in as well. So again, you've got those costs up front. And then you just got some meals and drinks on top of that. Cruises. Your meals and your accommodation and your entertainment. Anybody here like Broadway shows?
Yes.
Okay, Royal Caribbean. They've got Hairspray, they've got Chicago, they've got, what was the one I saw?
Wow.
Saturday Night Fever, the musical. They have some really great Broadway shows on there. And again, mostly inclusive. Prepaid customized travel. I do this a lot for people going to New Zealand. The cool thing about this is that when they do the prepaid customized travel, we get them their hotels with breakfast, they're on their own for lunches and dinners, but we tell them about how much per day to save for that. Any shopping they want to do is completely up to them, but the rental car is taken care of. Everything is paid for up front. And when they do it that way, they have no international charges on their credit cards. Because it's all dealt with in US dollars. So you're saving your money then. And because it's paid up front, you don't have to worry about the exchange rate in paying when you get to whatever country you're going to, and then having the international fees. So it's a great way to save on those as well. And then my last thought to leave you with is the girl's going to be handing out, they're going to be handing out this little handout which has got vacation planning tips, and then it's got a thing on how to find a great travel deal. And so it's great information in there, and then they're also going to give you, these are my favorite things. You're getting one of my favorite things. These here might look like peppermints, but the cool part is, I should have grabbed a couple here. I'm going to show you. So you've got this little peppermint here. Great for the gym, great to keep in the car, great for diaper bags. And if you put hot water on them, get the hot facial cloths. So you're all getting one of those.
Was that, I'm sorry, was that the boy?
No,
Oh, okay.
these I just get and I travel with all the time. And you can see the size cloth that it came out of that little phone. So you're all getting one of those to take home with you as well.
Where are you buying from?
These I actually get from Amazon, believe it or not. But most travel places have them. You can get instant cloths. This particular one is 1, 2, 3 towel. Step 1, take it out. Step 2, add water. Step 3, unroll it. Just put in there instant cloth. INSTACLOUGHS. And the whole bottle of time. But you can get them in half and like one in candlestick as well. But they're great when you make them. So this here is the value of using a travel professional. With so many travel options out there, it can be overwhelming. Remember that first employment here at the beginning? We work with you as your travel value interpreter using our expertise. We find amazing experiences that exceed your every desire but not your budget. With our services, you can be confident that your vacation will be perfectly planned, hassle-free, and filled with moments you will never forget. After all, being in the travel business, I'm in the business of helping people create memories. And my favorite tagline is, I help people cross destinations off their travel bucket list before they take a dirt nap. And then this is how you can find me. I actually have an app, so if you have your phone, you can go to iTunes and download Helen Brahms, and you'll have me in your back pocket. And you'll be able to contact me that way as well. In fact, that would be the easiest way.
Or on the iPhone, you just go to the App Store.
Yeah, go to the App Store on the iPhone and go to Google Play on the Android. On the handout section of Connect with Helen, it takes you to the site where you can set up an appointment there. I think I have.
And by the way, if at any given point in time, you can email us and just say, I want Helen's info or Bob's info, and we can forward your info to them so that,
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Is that something better to plan before you leave or when you get on the cruise?
Awesome question. So the question was, sorry, your name is Mary. Right? So Mary has a question. She's going on her first cruise. If you're going on your first cruise, download my app, send me a message on there and say you like my book. Because I actually have a book called Congratulations, You're Going on a Cruise, Now What? And it's basically for first time cruises. But your question about the shore excursions, should you pay for them before or after? Thank you for reminding me because I've totally forgotten the thing. When you're looking at the shore excursions, you can pre-book them before you go. So you're not having to worry about when you go. If you're booking them through the cruise line will not charge you for them until you have done the excursion on the ship. So be prepared for that to appear on your bill. The other thing is that a lot of travel professionals have a third-party vendor that they use. As a cruise planner, we use Shore Trips. And Shore Trips has a guarantee that they will get you back to the ship on time, or they will help you get to, or they will pay for you to get to the next destination throughout the ship. Because if you are on a non-cruise line excursion and it's late, the ship will not wait. But if you're on if you're on one done through the cruise line will wait for you to return. Okay? So book it before you go, and here's the other reason you book it before you go. I went on one cruise line, and we're doing a ship inspection between the disembarkation and embarkation. There was this huge line of people. I said, what are you standing in line for? Oh, we're waiting to book our shore excursion. I said, which one are you going for? Oh, we want to go swim with the dolphins. I said, did you realize that would have sold out like 5 weeks ago? So when you get on the ship, your excursion may not be available. So whatever you can pre-plan and pre-book before your trip, do it, because then you're aware of the cost that's going to be there. And if you did it through the cruise line, you are going to be paying more than if you used a third-party vendor as well. And there has been times that when I went to Skagway, we didn't even worry about it. We got off the ship and we were walking around, and there was this little old Victorian house with these women from the late 1800s just in their underwear hanging out the window enticing you to come inside. And it was actually one of those audience participation plays about Sophie Smith, who was like the Al Capone of Skagway. But then when we bought the tickets, they said, oh, for an extra $10 you get to do a 2.5-hour bus trip. So we did that, and they took us right up into the Yukon and back down again, and basically we did the same trail that the railway did, so we could see the train tracks the whole way. And it cost us a lot less money than the train did. So you can pick up.
That's where I'm going, is Alaska.
Yeah. Excellent. Happy to help out. Yes.
Is there a site that gives you the best exchange rates?
xeconverter.com. xeconverter.com. My pleasure. Any other questions? Feel free to contact me through the apps and we'll get you right back.